Joining me now are CNN political commentator Bakari Sellers and Maury Gillespie, the former press advisor to Republican House Speaker John Boehner. All right, let me start with you, Maury. This is a question that I think is on a lot of people's minds. You see this fight, right, going back and forth with Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Are Republicans more afraid of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, or their own constituents?
I mean, this is really childish, but it wasn't just a few months ago that Elon Musk said if any member or senator who stands in the way of Trump's agenda will be primaried. So now it's if anyone who stands in the way of this Trump's agenda, if they don't stand in the way of it, they're going to be primaried. I mean, he may change his mind in a month. So it's really hard to say. I don't think Elon Musk is their threat. However, if Donald Trump's not going to show up for them in their primaries, in their reelection bids in 2026, then it's their constituents they should be most afraid of, because that's what said. Trump is a lame duck president. He has not been really keen to go out. What's he going to do? Go out for every single House race that's at jeopardy here? It's a lot. It's a lot. So I think it's their constituents they should be most afraid of here. Bakari,
what does this say about the money in politics and these two men going back and forth? Or is this about something different?
I think it's about something different. I think that it's very, very petty and very childish. I think that it's kind of like the Real Housewives of the Beltway. I mean, he basically called him a welfare queen and told him to go back to where he came from.
Wow.
But I mean, when you juxtapose that against the fact that, like in my home state of South Carolina, 220,000 people will be kicked off of Medicaid in the Affordable Care Act, or in North Carolina, 600,000 people are going to lose insurance coverage. When you juxtapose it against the people who are going to lose SNAP benefits and health insurance, it looks really, really small. We've always said, Democrats have always said that Donald Trump's a very small man. And you see that. I'm trying to figure out how he has the energy and the wherewithal to tweet throughout the middle of the night at some other man that he just simply doesn't like. Is there not enough going on in the world for him to actually grapple with? And Elon Musk, you know, I believe in radical pragmatism. And so I want to destroy this bill just as much as Elon Musk. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I guess I'll take Elon Musk in this battle.
Interesting. Maura, Senator Mark Warner, I want to show you what he said. He said, "I'm tired of my Republican colleagues telling me in private how they feel about this terrible bill. It's time to vote like it." So what do you make of this sort of quiet talk that Mark Warner is talking about, and whether or not that's ever going to translate? Because we have heard this before, and they still pass the agenda.
I'd say we've been hearing it for 10 years. I mean, ever really since Donald Trump got on the political scene. I've listened to Republicans, my former colleagues, friends of mine, complain, and yet they just go out and say, we're doing the people's work. We are going to make America great again. And they continue to purport what he wants them to say, just to stay in his good graces. So I don't think that's going to change, except for the fact that they will lose come 2026 because they're not providing solutions. Listen, we understand that there's no such thing as a perfect bill. This bill by far is not perfect, right? There's lots of problems in it. But our debt's also a problem. These programs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, they're also ballooning costs. Medicare itself, which they're not talking about because insurance companies put in a lot of lobbying money to make sure that the Medicare Advantage and other programs stay safe. So there's not even being talked about right now. But we need to come up with solutions. We elect members of Congress to come up with solutions. And instead what we're watching is a childish Twitter battle and just truly taking a sledgehammer to programs that need a scalpel. And that's my biggest concern right now.
Bakari, Senate Republicans are saying by voting no, and they're putting this on Democrats, that every single Democrat is going to vote to raise taxes. It will hurt people. It will hurt small businesses. What's the Democrats' message? And is it breaking through?
Well, first of all, I call BS on that. Second, what is our message is still muddled, and I think that's the biggest problem with the Democratic Party today. The fact that we can't show an image of inauguration where you have Peter Thiel, where you have Elon Musk, where you have Jeff Bezos, and you can't actually come out of your mouth and have another graphic that says that Republicans, the first thing they do is they actually go in and cut your health care benefits, cut your SNAP benefits, while actually giving the people who were at this inauguration flashback to the image, tax cuts, right? Like I'm not a person who says there should be no billionaires, right? But I do think that there is a fundamental piece of most Americans.
I'm going to stop you really quick. I'm so sorry. Trump
You're cutting me off for the president?
I'm cutting you off for the president. He is talking about his trip to the Everglades. Let's listen.
Very hard on it with Ron and everybody, and I think it's going to be great. And then I'll be back here fighting for the bill, and I hear it's going okay. We'll move it along. But we'll be back here pretty early.
Do you think the president Bill, you've been warning some Republicans not to go too crazy with the cuts. Are there parts of the bill or amendments that you think cut too much?
We're going to have to see the final version. I don't want to go too crazy with cuts. I don't like cuts. There are certain things that have been cut, which is good. I think we're doing well. We're going to have to see. It's very complicated stuff. Great enthusiasm, as you know. And I think in the end we're going to have it. What do you think, Caroline? Yeah, I think.
What do you think about Zoran Mamdani having such a hard time condemning the phrase globalized intifada?
I think he's terrible. He's a communist. The last thing we need is a communist. I said there will never be socialism in the United States. Now we have a communist. So I think he's bad news. And I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with him, watching him, because he has to come right to this building to get his money. And don't worry, he's not going to run away with anything. I think he's, frankly, I've heard he's a total nut job. I think the people of New York are crazy. If they go this route, I think they're crazy. We will have a communist for the first time, really, a pure, true communist. He wants to operate the grocery stores, the department stores. What about the people that are there? I think it's crazy.
What happened to Elon Musk?
Who?
What happened to Elon Musk?
Nothing. No, he's upset that he's losing his EV mandate, and he's very upset about things, but he could lose a lot more than that. I can tell you right now. Hey, Elon can lose a lot more than that. We hope it's going to happen, and we're looking forward to happen sometime next week. We want to get our hostages back. We want to get the hostages back.
What if the big beautiful bill doesn't pass? You have to go through item by item by item and pass this stuff one at a time, or are you just going to try again?
I think we're going to get there. It's tough. We're trying to break it down so it's really good for the country. Trying to get a lot for everybody, and it's a big bill. And smaller bills would have been easy, but they wouldn't have been as good. I think it's going to do okay.
And with the alligator alcatraz, is the idea that if some illegal immigrant escapes, they just get eaten by an alligator or a snake or something?
I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If snakes are fast, but alligators are, but we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%, okay? Not a good thing.
What are you going to talk to Netanyahu about next Monday?
Well, he's coming here. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about the great success we had. I mean, we had an incredible, in Iran, we had an incredible success. Like really nobody's had in many, many years. That was a precision war strike, and the word obliteration can now be used because the Atomic Energy Commission said you can't even get into the place. It was demolished. It was really demolished. It was a great, brilliant strike, and how to go forward. We're also going to talk about Gaza. We want to get the rest. We got a lot of hostages back, but we're going to talk about Gaza. I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem. It blows up, So I'm going to give that one to Peter. I'm going to let Peter test it out. The hydrogen cars, and when they blow up, it's serious. They find you 5 blocks away. It's that good.
How are the trade talks going? Are there any countries we can expect to see before the July 9th deadline?
Everything's going well. Honestly, everything. This is very complicated because it's very big, a lot of different areas. Look, the Republicans have their heart in it. The Democrats they just want to destroy our country. A Democrat wants to destroy the country. They won't vote on it. They don't vote on anything. This is the biggest tax cut in history. Everything is the biggest in history. It's the best bill we've ever had. We can't get one Democrat vote.
When do you think you'll get final? When do you think you'll get final?
Nice guy, Peter. What do you think?
Very nice guy.
When do you think you'll get final passage of the bill?
Hopefully soon. Hopefully today, if we can. Final passage. When I say final is, let's take Senate at a time, okay? But I think Senate could be today, and we go over to the House.
And what about Senator Murkowski? Is there any way to placate her?
Who knows? You tell me. You tell me. Is there? Alaska's done so well with me. There's never been a president better to Alaska than me. But it doesn't mean people appreciate it. Have a good time.
All right, there is President Trump leaving the White House. He is heading to Florida, to the Everglades, to the so-called alligator Alcatraz, and he has been bragging about that alongside the governor of Florida. Let's go back and just try to go through some of the things that he said. There was a lot. He talked about many different things. And interesting to note that he says, I don't want an electric car after he had Elon Musk sitting right there with all of his electric cars there at the White House. So that is noted. But let's go back to him and these cuts that are in this bill. He says, I don't like cuts. Don't go crazy with the cuts. So I guess to you, Maura, it looks like he is setting up this scenario where if this goes through and if it gets passed and if people are upset about it, because the polling shows that voters are completely dislike this bill, it seems he's putting himself in a position where he doesn't get blamed. Is it going to work?
Well, which is the exact problem that Republicans were kind of fearful of, because if they said, you know, this is the president's agenda, we're voting for the president's agenda to get him what he wanted to get across the finish line, basically putting it on him so when they went back to their constituents, this is what you voted for. You voted for President Trump. This is his agenda. And now he's flipping the script by saying, I didn't want cuts. I didn't want cuts. It's a problem.
We do not have any more time, Bakari. You will get the first word next time. I am
You
really
cut me
sorry.
off. The president cuts me off.
I mean, it's not
going
right.
to give me a coffee.
I'll buy. All right, Bakari Sellers, thank you so much, Mark Gillespie. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.